Welcome back. This is season 2, episode 3 of the ChilliChump podcast, and today I am joined by a very special guest, Amrit from the South Devon chili farm. Amrit, for those who don't know, could you tell us a bit about the South Devon chili farm and how a Trinidadian ended up running a chili farm in England?
Sure. Yes, so I am Trinidadian. My wife and I, Jenny, we own and run the South Devon chili farm. We've had it for about 3 years now, and it's been around for just under 24 years. So it's got a long sort of history behind it. And we came to own it because it came up for sale. I got fed up with the corporate world and we took the plunge.
Sounds a little bit like my story here, but I mean, why chilies specifically? That's always
I,
a question I get.
you know what? I didn't intend to own a chili farm. I didn't intend to grow chilies other than some padron peppers and maybe the odd Scotch bonnet. That was it. That was all I was growing before in terms of chilies. It just happened that it was in the right place, near to family, and we wanted to move to Devon from having worked in the North Sea in Aberdeen for many years. And it came up for sale, and we just thought, well, let's just go for it. And it just happened to be chilies, right? I think if it was growing, I mean, if it was a regular farm growing corn or wheat or whatever, I may not have taken the plunge. But because it had a big horticultural element to it, I thought, well, I can kind of throw myself at this.
Well, some of these quick fire questions then, it's going to be interesting to see what you have to say, because I've got a few quick fire questions, a new part of my podcast that I'm trying to put in place just to make it a bit more fun for both the guest and myself. So we're going to start with, just a couple of rapid fire questions. I've got a few at the end as well, so this will give you just a taster. Number 1, Scorpion or Reaper?
Reaper.
Really?
I think the Scorpion tastes a bit more nasty, to be honest.
Even with the conversation we're going to have today.
Yeah, I mean, purely based on taste, nothing to do with heat. I can't handle either of them on heat.
I'm not a fan. I think the Reaper doesn't taste great. The Scorpions have a bit of a nicer taste. Okay, number 2, fresh pods or hot sauce?
Depends. If it's a Scotch bonnet and I'm making a local Trinidadian dish, I have to have some fresh slices on the side. If I'm just making a barbecue, it has to be a sauce to pour on top of it, or marinade, or whatever.
Okay. Number 3, greenhouse or polytunnel? And why?
Commercially, I wish I had greenhouses rather than polytunnels, because polytunnels can blow away in the storms. At home, definitely a greenhouse. Just because you can wash the glass easier. It's easier to manage. Polythene is so fragile, yet it's quite strong. It lasts for many years, but if you get one tiny rip in that and the wind comes through, that's it. Rips out, gone.
And also it's the maintenance. I mean, for me, I actually did a video on this, like polytunnels versus greenhouses. Greenhouses are so much more expensive, but I just love the convenience of not having to replace the polythene every 6 or 7 years.
Yes, exactly. And we at the farm we've got polytunnels with very old polythene, and they work well until they have a small rip.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. And birds have come around and poke holes in it and stuff like that. If they don't get damaged physically, they can last well past the manufacturer's sort of guidance.
The surprising thing is I monitor all the temperatures and that in my greenhouses and polytunnel, and my polytunnel is consistently warmer than my greenhouses. Mm-hmm. However, it also cools down quicker.
It does.
So at nighttime, when the sun goes down, it's the first one to drop to lower temperatures. So I can actually see it on the graph.
I guess the glass is, I mean, the thermal conductivity of the glass versus the thin polythene, all that sort of comes into play.
Yeah, I think it's also my greenhouses are all on concrete bases, so it maybe holds the heat quite a bit more.
Yeah. I think so our polytunnels are on a slope, so the heat naturally vents through it, and that was an intentional setup when the previous guy who started off the business sort of put in place. He wanted a way of having a natural ventilation system going through without putting fans, and that sort of helped. The downside to that is when it gets to the evening, the heat does leave, even if you close up everything. But if I can have glass, it would be better. I mean, the polythene diffuses the light a bit more, and I think you can get a better light spread, if you like. Oh, not spread. I'm not I'm not expert in sort of light or anything, but it diffuses light. It's a nice diffused light across the plants, but I think it does dampen because there's a percentage of light reflected off versus how much comes through with pure glass.
Yeah, I think that's true as well. Yeah, there's definitely a more dispersed light, so you get light to like the back of the plants more so
Yeah,
than you would in the greenhouse, where shading is far more abrupt.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we could talk all day about
About
greenhouse versus
polytunnels.
polytunnel. This is a quick fire. Number 4: early morning watering or evening watering.
It depends. In the when we're sending plants out in the post, we have to do a late evening watering just to make sure that the plants are properly saturated. And whereas early morning watering for the nursery shop is probably the best because it gives a nice fresh appearance to people's view of when they come into the nursery. Everything is nicely watered, nicely hydrated. So it really depends, really.
So you don't have a view as to
My
which
view,
has the best production? I mean, which one's
I
best for the plant?
I don't really know, to be honest. We only irrigate the crop tunnels in the daytime because that's when we're here. Nothing is ever irrigated overnight unless we forget to turn it off or unless there's a leak. Um, we tend to irrigate first thing in the morning and let it run through to lunchtime. But I don't think we have any quantitative justification for that. It's just out of habit. So I really don't know.
Well, for me, it's the morning. Again, it's just giving them that day. They need the water. They're going to start growing.
Mm.
They As soon as the sun hits, they're going to start working,
Photosynthesizing,
right?
they want that water.
And then I might, especially in the hotter days, like we've had a good few
Hmm.
weeks of some lovely weather, I will do a second watering in the evening, depending on what the average temperature has been over the day, because
Is
they'll
that
start
just to
looking very droopy.
top them up until the next morning again, or will that be
It's
the
yeah,
next day's watering?
no, that'll be purely a top up. The next day will
Mm.
be continued with the same process. So
Ah,
it's all
interesting.
automated. It's just
Yeah,
to make sure that overnight they're not suffering, because
yeah. You
chili
don't want it
plants
to
can be dramatic, and they
Yeah, they are so damn dramatic. God,
they can just decide, no, I'm not going to grow anymore.
th-
You ruined me. I'm not going to do anything for you.
this is the
So
first time we've grown plants in any sort of scale in large pots, just because I wanted to trial a few. Not because we're going into the direction of planting in pots, but we brought in some new varieties this year, and I wanted to grow at least one of each of those new varieties in a pot, in a 60-liter pot, just to see how the plant grows, the character, the habit, that sort of thing, right? And boy, oh boy, was it a pain in the ass to keep those plants watered properly. Even on days when they're fully watered, there's so much transpiration happening. They're wilting, and the plants are then struggling, and the flowers are dropping, and you're like, what are we doing? There's nothing we can do to fix this because the polytunnel is 45 degrees. Madness. Yeah, they're really
it,
dramatic plants.
the key thing that I found when you are using bigger pots, and I think we have kind of spoken
Mm,
about this a little bit before. The potting up process for me is hugely important, especially if you're going to bigger pots.
yeah.
So if it's for me 60-liter or 90-liter pots, so those are some of my biggest pots that I have. I have 160-liter as well, but that's another story.
Yeah.
But I will pot up about 6 or 7 times before I get into the 60-liter pot.
Hmm.
Because if that root system is too small, all that's happening, you can fill that pot up with water, but if
Yeah.
the root system's
Well,
sitting at the top, it's not going to
yeah.
spread anymore
Well,
because it's not
this
happy.
is weird. Is I mean, so I've come a bit full circle, right? So I used to think you should pot on only one size up because that's the sort of gardener's world type approach they'd recommend to people here in the UK. And I'm very cynical about that in many ways. But when I tell people you can go to a larger pot size, I always have to caveat it and say, bearing in mind, you only need to give the plant the water that it can access. Don't go and water 60 liters of soil and saturate it. But the average person I'm telling that to only hears, oh, I can just avoid potting up in stages. And they just plunk a little seedling in a big pot, but then they water the whole thing and it just
And
dies.
then they wonder why it's never growing.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, you can do it that way, and there is a strategy, and I'll probably show that one day on a video where you could probably plant a seed directly in a massive pot, but then you have to be very, very strategic
yeah,
about how you're watering.
exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, the way I sort of say it to people who ask us is I say, look, we plant seedlings directly in the ground, plug seedlings straight in the ground, and that seedling has infinitely large pot in
yeah.
in theory, in practice, right? But we only ever put a dripper at the base of that plant, and we irrigate very precisely onto that plant. We're not saturating the ground. So then they kind of get an understanding. Look, I could put into a big pot, like you'd have seeds germinating in large pots, sat there doing nothing. But then if you don't treat those individual seedlings right and give them just the amount of water they need, you're just watering the whole mass. And we've seen people do that when we have growing workshops and stuff. We say, no, no, that's not how you do it.
Well, I go the lazy way, which actually, I mean, it's also a lot of work potting up
Yeah,
multiple times, but it is the lazier way. You can just saturate the pot.
yeah,
If you pot up
exactly.
double the size each time,
Hmm.
you're going to get to a point where you're fine, and you can then saturate the pot, and the roots will
And
do
the
its
plants are
thing.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Not so quick fire these rounds.
I'm learning a lot, and I'm sure the listeners are learning a lot. So it's always good. Um, so. This is an interesting one because I get this question a heck of a lot. Overwinter or start fresh each year?
I firmly believe start fresh each year if you live in a country like the UK. In my 3 years of experience and adding the sort of 20 years of experience that the farm has had and I've learned from the farm, from the ones we've overwintered versus the ones that you start off fresh in January or February, whenever you start them, they rapidly catch up. And you have a plant which is formed from a seed and it's healthy and nice versus one that's sort of struggled through winter to keep itself going, dragging its legs. They both catch up, and then inevitably, I find that the total yield at the end of the season from the fresh plant that year is better, if better or the same. There's a lot of variability, but quite often better than the one that you've overwintered. So you're not gaining anything by trying to save these plants unless you have the time and the patience and everything else to go along with the overwintering, and they were going to be thrown away on the compost heap anyway. But
Yeah,
I'd always just go fresh.
I agree. I'm also I love starting seeds. So
Yeah, I mean that joy of putting a seed in a pot and seeing it grow. We do have, to us, we think it's famous. So I have a Carolina Reaper bonsai
okay,
that's about 4 years old now, 3 years old, and it's very healthy. But it's only that healthy because I treat it like a bonsai, and it's not overwintered per se. It's kept in a grow tent, so it's sort of it grows at a very slow pace in the grow tent and then brought outside.
it's like it's living in Trinidad.
Effectively, yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I prefer. I mean, overwintering, I also find that the quality of the pods aren't necessarily as good. You won't get as much heat in the second, and definitely not the third year,
Mm,
especially for anums. So things like the jalapeno.
yeah.
Um, I just don't see a reason to do the overwintering
I mean
unless
that
there's
plant
a
grows.
plant that you absolutely love and you're attached to it and you really
Yeah,
want to keep hold of it.
yeah.
Right? Okay, and
Especially with
last
with
one.
a,
Sorry.
I was going to say, especially with a jalapeno, which grows so quickly as well. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
I just love growing from seed. So I'll never go. I mean, this year I will be overwintering a couple plants, but that's purely just to show people
yeah.
what it does. So, okay, last one on the quick fire, and then we're going to get into an interesting topic. So, this I see all over YouTube and in the chili community. The argument just goes on and on. Prune for production or let them grow wild?
Oh God, we get that asked. The amount of emails in the inbox that comes through asking that question. It's We firmly believe in just letting the chili plants do their thing. They naturally bush out. I mean, in no doubt, you take off a terminal bud, auxiliary side buds will grow out, right? That happens in most, if not all, plants, I believe.
Yep.
But I don't think. I mean, you are effectively removing the engine of the plant. You're taking away leaves when you're doing that. So why not just let it naturally bush out on its own?
And again, it's this country, right? You if you're growing in a place where the season is limited,
Yeah,
why limit the plant's production?
yeah, and you get a setback to that, and then the plant
Yeah,
has to recover from that process to then grow on again.
yeah.
You've got a few months, let it do its thing.
I'm the same way. I mean, if I was still living in South Africa and growing a massive peri peri outside, then hey, I'll prune it at the end of the season as you would
Yeah,
a fruit tree, for
yeah,
example. Right?
exactly. Yeah,
But in this country, no, I let them go. The only time I prune is if I'm trying to shape it. If I want
yeah.
to
You've
create,
got some structural things, right, going on.
yeah, like if there's too much growth at the bottom and I want to get some air through there, then I'll
Hmm.
I'll prune a little bit off the bottom, but not for extra growth. That's not
Yeah.
why I'd prune. So
Yeah, to me, when I first heard people doing that, I thought that was quite counterintuitive.
it does set you back. I mean, the
Yeah,
plant will be stunted for a few days as well,
yeah,
right? I mean, I can go out there during the height of summer, and every day I go into the greenhouse or the polytunnel, I can see the growth on the
you see more
individual
growth,
plants.
right, overnight. Yeah,
But if you go and trim it back, then a few days, it's just going to be miserable. It's not
yeah,
going to
yeah.
be happy.
That's what happens to my Carolina bunchy. It
Yeah.
I prune it back heavily because it's a bunchy, but it then takes weeks for that to recover and send out new growth.
Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of that, but it's quite interesting seeing the conversations. People are really one
They
way
get
or the
really
other. They're very
and really
religious
worked up
about
about it. Yeah.
it. If you want to prune, prune. If you don't. But you
Yeah.
don't need to. Okay, so this is interesting. So this conversation, I recently saw an article on your website and a couple of videos that you made on your YouTube channel, and go check
Hmm.
it out. We need to get some subscribers over on the South Devon Chili Farm YouTube channels. You got a lovely grow space there, and if you love chilies, you're going to love seeing that. But I saw this video about you making a pilgrimage to Moruga. Now, firstly, I didn't know Moruga was a place. That's terrible of me. I do love the Moruga Scorpion, so obviously I know the name because of that. But you made a pilgrimage to Moruga, and I just wanted the viewers to be able to know a bit more about this, because I don't think you got too many views on that video. I think we can get a few
No,
more
it
views on there.
I we are going to send out a newsletter to most of our subscribers who will see that, so it'll jump up when people get directed in that
Excellent.
direction. So
So why did you take the journey?
why? Yeah,
Why did you make a pilgrimage out there?
so when we took over the chili farm, right? I didn't know much about hot peppers other than the big names: Ghost Chili, Carolina Reaper, and Trinidad Scorpion. Everything else, I didn't know anything about that. And our only reason why I knew Trinidad Scorpion is because of the name and where I come from, right? And growing up, well, when I was growing up, we didn't have the Trinidad Scorpion, but there's a little bit of interesting thing to that. I think it might have existed for many years before that. But came to the UK, and then got the chili farm and all of that, and Trinidad Scorpion. So then I started thinking, well, what is this Trinidad Scorpion history about? Because everybody kept banging on about Trinidad Scorpion. Started digging around, found out there was this thing called a Moruga Scorpion, which I didn't even know much about. And I was going back to Trinidad last year to visit family, and I thought, well, I'm going back to Trinidad. Let me make a pilgrimage to Moruga because I have family there, and they've been farming there for multiple generations. And I had
What are they
asked,
farming out there?
um, I don't, what's the term? It's we call it 6 weeks crops. It's effectively okra, bitter melon, aubergine, things like that. Things that grow on really quickly there. We call it 6 weeks crops there. Um, But before going to Trinidad, I put a message out because I said, "Hey guys, my friends, family back home, I want to find this person who is named on Wikipedia as creating the yellow cultivar of the Moruga Scorpion, a guy called Wahid Ogier." So when I googled before going to Trinidad who created the Moruga Scorpion, nothing comes up other than this Wikipedia article referencing this guy called Wahid. So I sent a message out to my family and friends and said, "Does anybody know of this person?" Because I mean, sarcastically, you can say Trinidad's a small place; everybody knows each other. In many ways, that is true, right? Somebody knows somebody who knows somebody. You will get there eventually. Nobody knew of this guy. And I thought this is a bit suspicious. Moruga Scorpion, Trinidad Scorpion, world famous. Why is there no more information around there? Couldn't find anything. Couldn't find anything on Wahid himself. So I thought, right, I'll go back and then I'll put the feelers out with the family members on the ground there. Turns out, just by sheer luck, that I was staying at my brother-in-law's house, and he had an uncle who still has family connections who farm in that part of Moruga where they believe the Moruga Scorpion originated. And he said, "I will take you there." So we got there, got in the van, drove in. I had never been to Moruga in my life, despite only living 2 miles away on the island. Right? It's you never you live somewhere, you don't go everywhere that's popular in the country. So we got there. We found a village elder who was a family connection in the area, and he said, "Look, I'll take you to the guy." But he was very skeptical about whether or not he should take us or not, because apparently, many months before, some other European person had come, and dare I say, a white European, that's how he described it. Some white Englishman came looking for the Moruga Scorpion. So other people have made this pilgrimage. but the other person didn't. I guess because he didn't have the family connection, didn't get a chance to go deep into the countryside where this person was, Nigel. So we got taken. We couldn't find Nigel in the fields, but he said, "I'll take you to his house." So I thought, okay, all right, this is getting even better. Got there, Nigel had just come back from harvesting or whatever it is he was doing, and he was surprised to find a van load of people coming to look for him to talk about Moruga Scorpion. And I was expecting to see lots of pepper plants everywhere. Turns out he wasn't growing any that year. He had switched to growing okra or something else completely different because of the value of whatever crop was useful at the time. And I spoke to Nigel, and I said to Nigel, "I'm here to talk about the Moruga Scorpion and your involvement with it." I said, "Because I don't think many people know your story." And he said, "Yeah, that's true because I never got any credit or nobody ever knew that I was the one created it." So take a step back from that, and I said, "Do you understand how globally significant the Moruga Scorpion and the scorpion peppers in general have become?" He had no clue. He was completely oblivious to how about the worldwide fame the Moruga Scorpion and the Trinidad Scorpion in general had attracted. So I told him, I said, "Look, tell me what how you went about creating this Moruga Scorpion," because I wanted his words. I didn't want to tell him what I thought. And he said him and his brother, sort of in the years leading up to 2010, crossed a seven pot pepper, which is a landrace variety, classically grown in the area, with what we call as a Congo pepper, which is a red habanero, a Scotch bonnet, something like that, just another hot habanero type pepper. Him and his brother intentionally crossbred them to create a pepper which they can then use to fulfill the commercial demand by the street food vendors to make hotter and hotter hot sauces so that they can stretch out the sauces and they can get more out of it. And he said they crossed these two peppers together and they created the Moruga Scorpion. So I thought this story is not documented anywhere. And what's really interesting is that he said when they released the pepper, it wasn't like Pepper X or anything where it's a big PR campaign. It's literally them saying, "Hey guys, we've made a super hot pepper. Do you want to buy it?" At the market. That was it. They got no sort of credit for it. They got no publicity. I think they got some sort of not credit, but what should I say? Some kudos in the sense that they were able to get an invitation to go to the United States and be able to get a visa to go to the United States to then take some of those seeds and take it to researchers there, I believe. But even after they did that, no mention of his name was ever his name was never mentioned anywhere, and he he pretty much said the whole thing went flat. It was that was it. He didn't hear anything else about it. Nobody ever contacted him, and that was it. And I thought that was quite strange. So there I was standing with this guy who created the Moruga Scorpion. He didn't know anything about what was going on globally, and the people in the villages in the area were just, it had just passed them by, and that was it. And they were moving on to the next thing or the next crop or whatever. And I thought it's a bit strange. So then, fast forward till a few months ago, I'm sat at my desk at the chili farm, and I thought, right, let me finally make this blog. And I started making the blog. I thought, hold on a second, let me just dig a bit more on Google and see where else I can find. So I started coming across more and more articles talking about scorpion peppers, which have a lot of conflicting dates compared to the mainstream, uh, I guess, the mainstream rhetoric out there as to how the scorpion peppers came about. Very confusing, very sort of interconnecting the web of dates and versions and phenotypes of peppers. It's it's crazy. And I put my hand up and I said I don't know what the truth is, but I thought I'd shed some light on what Nigel and his brother created, what I believe to be the creators of the Moruga Scorpion, not necessarily the Trinidad Scorpion, but the Moruga Scorpion.
Well, I mean,
You know,
on that note, so because the way you're talking is that you're saying that the three chilies are three separate chilies: the Scorpion, the Trinidad Scorpion, and the
that
Moruga Scorpion.
that is what I think is it's happened. I think so. I came across an article written by somebody at the University of the West Indies in around I think the 2011-2012 time period when the Trinidad Scorpion gained popularity. Not necessarily the Moruga Scorpion, but the Trinidad Scorpion. And in the article, the researcher, the journalist talks about researchers at the University of the West Indies testing scorpion peppers on the at heat levels over 2 million Scoville heat units back in the 90s. Now, I would challenge anybody to find peppers anywhere in the world being that that hot in the 90s, right? When you think of the history of hot peppers and how they emerged on the Guinness record sort of
Well, it was
timeline.
2006, the first time that it was a big thing that a chili had been measured over 1 million Scoville, which was
Exactly.
the
So
butcherloquial, the ghost pepper.
I suspect if you go back to University of the West Indies and dig through the archives of the laboratory tests that were being done, they were testing peppers over 2 million Scoville back then.
That's
Certainly
crazy.
over 1 million Scoville. And
Was that peak or average? Do you know?
I genuinely don't know. It might have been peak. Whatever it is, it's still quite hot, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And and so the journalists found um, the researchers at the university who were doing these tests, and I don't know what was the reason for these experiments. It was agronomist-driven type research in the university, but the peppers that were handed in and the peppers that were collected came from lots of different parts of the country. And one particular group of peppers came from a farmer who sort of was growing sort of crops in the northern range, northern part of the country, and those were tested at extremely hot levels, well over 1 million Scoville, and they were being referred to at that time in the 1990s as scorpion peppers. Bearing in mind, Nigel and his brother didn't start in the 1990s to create the Moruga Scorpion. So there you have scorpion peppers emerging in the north of the island, and a Moruga Scorpion emerged commercially in 2010. And you've got the 1990s, 2010 when it was recognized, what happened in between. And somehow along that time gap, seeds of these type of hybrids left the country, went to the United States, and then you got the whole thing about the butch tea scorpions and all the other variations that have emerged since. So I think there's a fascinating history of peppers evolving.
Honestly, the whole superhot, the whole race for the superhots out there is a fascinating story, and I doubt we'll ever get the full truth on all these
Yeah,
things
I
because
I think
there's
I will intentionally make an effort next time in Trinidad to go to the university and see if I can get some of those
that'll
archives.
be interesting to actually get some hard proof because that's the thing. There's too much talk, and I will
There's a
ask
lot of
questions
hearsay.
a bit later about certain special people from the
Yeah,
US. But there's a lot of talk out there,
yeah,
and not a lot of proof and a
no,
lot of changing stories. So the Scorpion, obviously, I'm a big fan of the Scorpion, and I've always thought it was a variety. It was either called the Scorpion or the Moruga
mm,
Scorpion or the Trinidad Moruga Scorpion. I always assumed they were the same things. I didn't think
so
or realize that they were
yeah,
different cultivar.
and I'm still not completely clear. So we grow a Trinidad Scorpion at the chili farm, a commercial version, and I think that is what is generally classed as the Trinidad Scorpion. And the Moruga Scorpion, according to what I've seen and what the early researchers did, so people like Paul Bosland and others from the Chili Pepper Institute, when they did the testing back in the day, that sunken shape with a sort of tail-like point to it is perhaps what I would expect a Moruga Scorpion to look like, and a Trinidad Scorpion to be a more elongated without the sort of sunken bit in the middle. It's hard to describe without seeing it here, but I think over time they've become sort of two distinct type of scorpions, if you like. But then on the same plant, as you know, you will find
Well, the
variations.
phenotypes will change
Yeah,
a
exactly.
lot.
But
Um,
I genuinely believe Nigel and his brother set about doing this because so the old gentleman in the village,
oh,
the
I'm
village
not
elder.
questioning it. I mean, listen,
No,
I'm
no,
questioning
no, no,
everything.
no, 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 no.
But
I'm not. But just like you, I know there was a lot of hearsay. But then I started when I was speaking to them. This this the group of people that I encountered in Moruga, they they have no reason to make any of this up. Like there is no gain for them, the way it has been for other people, as we know, in the chili growing community outside of Trinidad. There's no need for them to make the story up. And I have spoken to Nigel after this interview and asked him if he's willing to sort of divulge some of the other crosses. He showed me some really interesting peppers that he crossed which he never then released. Things that look very similar to Warthog, Wartrix, um, even Pepper X, dare I say. He showed me phenotypes
Oh, who
that
knows
he
what the Pepper X looks like? That
well
thing keeps changing
it
every
keeps
5
changing all the
minutes.
time. But he showed me phenotypes of crosses he made last year and the year before, which he never then grew on after that, which I think will be really interesting. And I'm not bombarding him, but I'm trying to get him to sort of share some of that with the world. But you can understand his restraint in wanting to share that, given what's
What?
happened.
Absolutely. Yeah, even I mean, I do crossing. I've created varieties, and they do become your babies.
Yeah,
They're kind
you
of
spent
I
so
spend
much
a lot of
time with it.
time doing this,
Yeah.
especially when you cross properly. And that's a question I actually have about this. But when you're creating your own variety, and somebody then goes and repurposes it
Mm,
and renames it or starts the big issue I have is I've created one called the CC Jigsaw Brain, right? It's a cross between Jigsaw and
hmm.
Brain String.
Yeah.
And it's extremely hot. It's a beautiful chili, very productive. It's about this year, it is at F5, F6, maybe actually.
Okay.
And somebody, I did put them up for sale stupidly. I won't do this again
Hmm.
before it was properly stable because people were begging for it.
Yeah.
And then I found somebody selling them,
All right.
selling my F4. So they obviously had been growing on my F4 variety.
Yeah.
Now, the problem there is I don't mind. People can sell these chilies. I mean, I'm selling the Dorset Naga, for example, right? And that's from the
Yeah.
Dorset, Sea Spring seeds. I got no problem with it. The problem I have is I don't have now control over that. They're still calling it the CC Jigsaw Brain,
Yeah.
but they're selling an F4, which it's still going to be diverging. It's still going to be. It could be regressing in genetics.
Hmm.
I doubt they're isolating, and
Yeah.
even if they are isolating, are they selecting the phenotype that I'm aiming for, and the
Yeah.
flavors I'm aiming for, and the plant
And
type and the health?
and there's your name attached to it, and then it's
So,
what their
so for
customers then
example,
grow on.
well, this is it. If somebody's getting a bad experience with an F4, and it's like,
Yeah.
wait, this is coming out like a smooth skinned habanero. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's still an F4. So there's a chance that could happen.
Yeah.
Once it gets to F7, and now I've released this, and now this is diverged where you've got this F4 and it's gone into its own little,
Weird.
pocket.
Yeah.
So yeah, I completely get it, especially if they understand. But the question I had there, did he show you how he was crossing?
He not
Did he tell
in
you
the
at
sense that
least?
he had peppers or anything, but he sort of explained what they were doing. They were doing the whole emasculation
Okay.
process. They weren't just sort of holding flowers together and
Like,
jamming it like
and
that.
kiss.
Yeah, and kiss. Yeah, exactly. No, so his brother, I should give a mention to him. His brother is Russell Ruplal. His brother was, and these are Nigel's words, his brother was the brains behind the crossbreeding program. So his brother would go into the field, find the flowers that were almost about to open, take the petals off, emasculate it, and do all the crossing. So that's what they were doing. And I guess they have the benefit of an sort of continuous growing season,
Yeah.
and they have the benefit of being able to grow out thousands of plants to then select from. And they're not wasting those plants because they will still harvest the fruits and sell them. So it's the breeding program for them isn't a purely commercial one where they're looking for a hybrid and that's the only thing that they're commercializing along the way. Is that they will still sell the peppers because the hot peppers will still sell at the market,
Yeah.
and then they'll just be picking which ones look good for them and selecting as they went forward.
So these varieties that they've talking about, like the mustard one,
Yeah,
which
I
I know
wish
is
I
like
can show
pepper.
Sean. I wish I can show you the picture of this. Right, it's about a big. Think of a giant Scotch bonnet, about that big, but
Yeah.
gnarly, bumpy, sunken in. It's got some tails on it. Weird,
Have
crazy,
you
but like
grown the
that
big
big.
mustard mama before?
I want to grow it. I don't have any seeds of it. That's one of the ones I want
I'll
to
send
get.
you some. Honestly, that's a beautiful one, and it's very similar to that. Probably not with the little points and tail and that sort of thing. It's very
Yeah.
gnarly, and it's quite a large chili. Um, but yeah, the mustards are
Yeah.
scary.
One of the ones he showed me had, the KS Peach Starkist one with the kind of
Yeah.
like inverted bit and it comes back out again. Some of them look like that. So he showed me a bowl of it. And bearing in mind, I mean, his camera phone is not the best one, so the pictures he took of the chilies aren't like, academic style pictures. But when I saw it, and my brother-in-law who was there at the time, he thought these look mad, these look crazy. He collected seeds. You can tell that the chili breeding side is something that he wants to carry on, but it's only him now, not his brother anymore.
Yeah.
And he obviously has his family to feed. He's got a business to run. Unless he can see a way of making more value out of what he's doing, he's holding it close to his chest because it's a little bit of a hobby at the moment. But he knows now that there is there is commercial value to be had from
But
doing this.
there's a ready market for it, and I
I
mean, with
told
someone
him.
like yourself,
I've
it,
said to him, I said, look, we can come up with an agreement. I've got access to a market here in the UK. Let's get you the breeders' rights if possible. We can do things like that, right?
yeah.
So I want to make a trip back and touch base with him. It's where he lives in the country. It doesn't have much support from the agricultural division there. They operate as a small community, farming and making a living, right? And the I think with all the interest in chili peppers and Trinidad scorpions and stuff like that have sort of dropped off in within Trinidad, there is no sort of excitement anymore with hot peppers in Trinidad. As every vendor is selling Trinidad scorpions. Is as hot as they need it to be for what they're making. The market has just sort of dropped off now, as in there's huge amounts of people growing it. Um, so I think the value he can get from it is international. It can't be within the island.
I mean, I would argue that we've got to a point where, I mean, 2 million Scoville,
What are you
1.6
gonna
million
do?
Scoville is insane,
Yeah.
right? And I love trying these new ones. I'm really excited to try the Warthog this year that I'm
Hmm.
growing. The Wartrix that I tried last year was insane. There are still hotter chilies coming out all the time, but
Yeah.
realistically, when you get to Scorpion level or Reaper or Seven Pot Primo and that sort of thing, you can make some insane sauces, right?
Yeah.
Do you really need it to be double that?
Yeah.
Because
Exactly. Unless
I
you're doing it for its own sake, for the name of it, right? That's
but this is it. It
yeah.
shifted, and I think in Western community, right? Like if we're talking Europeans and
Yeah.
people like myself that are growing these chilies because we just love seeing the variety in that.
Yeah.
If you can shift the thinking to that rather than we're making a practical chili for a practical sauce for a practical purpose,
Yeah.
then suddenly it changes things, right? And
Mm.
then he's going to get more interest. Now, I don't know what the community is like in Trinidad. I mean, I'm
My
guessing not
my guess.
really.
No, it's there's one sort of social media account I was following. I can't remember the name of it, to be honest. And it is a brand of hot sauce in Trinidad called Bertie's.
Okay.
Bertie's hot sauce. I have it in my cupboard. It's fantastic, right? But you only ever get it in sort of supermarkets in Brixton in London, for example, or if you go back to Trinidad. And they showed a behind the scenes of their factory, and they buy peppers from farmers. They will buy scorpion peppers from farmers. They'll buy Congo peppers from farmers, and and that's it. The hot sauce and the appreciation of chilies in Trinidad is just limited to the flavors of sauces that people get used to back home, and that's
Yeah.
it. There is no much. I don't want to sort of. I don't want to uh, talk down or sort of belittle the flavor palette back home because that's my culture and everything. But we're not any more sophisticated other than a hot sauce granny makes and it's good. That's
But
it.
how does it need to be any more sophisticated?
No, it
One of
does.
my
It
favorite
it
hot
does
sauces is a traditional
exactly.
sauce that my mom has been making since
Yeah,
I was a kid. It's a
and
peri
that's the
peri
thing.
sauce. It's amazing.
Yeah, and that's and anybody back home, if you go to somebody's house and they have a good hot sauce, they'll decant some for you, and that's it. As long as it's good, people don't care about what chilies have gone into it.
What I find with hot sauce, listen, heat is heat. I love spice and
Yeah.
it gives me a buzz, and I have to have it on nearly every meal I eat. But it's the story that
Mm,
makes it interesting to me. So a hot sauce that has a bit of a story behind it, or I think the reason that my hot sauces sell as well as they do is because there is that story. You get to watch my videos, you get to see
mm.
my
Yeah,
challenges and
you're
all
along
that.
the whole journey with you for
You
the
get to see the journey. So
yeah.
when you got that sauce in your hand, it's not just something you bought off a supermarket. It's something, hey, there's a guy I watch on channel. He
And he's
touched this
made that.
bottle. He
Yeah,
made that.
yeah,
He
yeah,
grew
yeah.
these. So there's that story. And the reason I'm saying this is not because I'm trying to sell hot sauce here, but you keep mentioning Congo chili. Now, it sounds like that's just what you guys call a really hot habanero, a really hot
Yeah.
Scotch bonnet, right?
I yeah, yeah, that's
In,
effectively what it is.
so I'm from Africa, and the Congo, obviously the DRC, was a nearby country for us.
Yeah.
The hottest sauce that I ever had until I started growing butcherlokias and ghost peppers and things like that,
Mm.
and growing what I grow now. So back in 2006, was a Congolese chili sauce,
Mm.
and this sauce was brought over from the Democratic Republic of Congo, made with Congolese chilies. Now I remember seeing the chilies; they looked like really gnarly butcherlokia, I guess, but they were
Hmm.
a bit bigger. It was extremely hot. I doubt it's the level of heat that I can handle now. But when you're a 12-year-old kid
Yeah.
and your uncle's just come back from the Congo and he's got
Yeah.
this jar that some mama made
Made
in
for
the
him.
back of
Yeah.
the kitchen, and you open the top and it looks like it's smoking,
Yeah.
you know, that just blew my mind. I mean, I remember we all were daring each other to taste this stuff, and
Yeah.
dip a teaspoon in there and taste the teaspoon. Not even take anything on the teaspoon, just
Just
touch
the
the
tip of
teaspoon
it.
with it,
Yeah.
and it killed me. But it was the story behind it. It was this bottle that he had found in a
Yeah.
village somewhere, and somebody gave it to him. But yeah, I do think the story means a lot as well, because
It.
it gets to a point. Come on, chilies, if I laid out in front of you, and even someone like Johnny Scoville, and I laid
Mm.
out a bunch of chilies that are at that super hot level,
Yeah.
I could promise you that I could put five different chilies, obviously chosen by me, five
Yeah.
different chilies in front of him, and he wouldn't be able to tell me which one he's eating if he ate it blind. He's going to get the heat in that,
Yeah.
but there's the Dorset Naga, the Butcherlokia, and the Naga Jalokia. You put those together, they have a
Yeah.
very similar flavor profile. The heat levels are different.
Yeah.
There's a slight change in the flavors, but it's not drastic. So
Yeah. And you compare that to something like a jalapeno, which is definitive.
oh, it's huge flavor, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, or a cayenne, or anything like
Yeah.
that. They have very specific, but that's when you're on the lower heat level.
Yeah.
Because when you're on a higher heat level, that means that more of that chili is just pain.
Yeah, exactly. People come to the farm, right? And they ask us time and time again, do people actually eat these hot peppers? I said, yeah. I mean, they're surprised, right? Because we get a lot of people coming to the farm who aren't chili heads, which is where the excitement lies. Because chili heads will like chilies, whatever, right? But we get people who don't know about chilies coming, and then they're really surprised to find people eating Carolina Reapers. And they say, well, why is there hotter and hotter chilies being created? You answer the same question all the time, but you then have to explain to people, look, unless you can handle the heat at those at that higher end of the spectrum, you are not going to find flavor. If your head is just blown right away, forget it. You're not going to find fruity tones or whatever.
Yeah, your body's not going to let you know what it tastes like. It's just
Exactly.
going to know.
You're going
It's
to be
going to let you know
crying.
that you're dying.
Like about 3-4 years ago, we had like a group of hairy bikers rolling on the grass in front of the shop, chugging milk because they tried a hot sauce, and probably wasn't even the hottest one they tried as well. But that's it. They couldn't get any flavor because it was their first time tasting hot sauces.
Well, it's quite funny. I'll sometimes, just to be part of the community here, I'll go and do a Christmas fair down the road from a small village.
Hmm.
A lot of older people, I guess, and I'll have my stall set up, and I have tasters in front.
Yeah,
And it's always the kids that like, oh, I want to try that.
yeah,
And they have no idea what they're in for. But then some of the older people as well, they come there and they can handle it a bit better than most, I think.
yeah.
But they
I
still get blown away. They just don't understand. They think that Tabasco is hot. It's
exactly. I say to be Tabasco's eyewash, but you get surprised all the time. So I was at Bude Food Festival or something, running the chili farm stand, and the this I don't want to. I'm not being stereotyped. I'm not stereotyping anybody, but this tiny petite blonde lady came up to the stand, and she asked to buy 2 bottles of Reaper sauce. And I said, "Oh, are you playing a trick on somebody? Blah blah blah." Because it's typically bought as a bit of bravado for the uncle who likes hot sauce or whatever. She said, "No, it's for me. I love it." And I
wow.
thought, "Really?" And she said, "Yeah, I've been buying this for many years from you. I love it, and I buy it online or whatever. And I've seen you here at the stand. I'll just buy from you here." She loves it. You would never guess, and it's extremely hot, right? And it's not even. I don't even eat it. It's just people buy it most of the time because of bravado. But you can't judge a book by its
You
cover.
can't judge a book by its cover, that's for sure. So before I have some more quick fire questions to
Sure,
come, because I don't want to keep you too long.
it's all
But
right.
before we get into that, we have to get into some controversy, if
Yeah,
you don't mind.
I like a bit of gossip.
So I've spoken with Troy Primo. I don't know if you've seen the
I've
podcast
watched it. Yeah,
or the live stream that I did with him.
yeah,
It
yeah,
turned into a three-parter because there was a there was a lot to talk about. He's such a lovely guy, and he's been in the industry for so long.
yeah.
Learned quite a lot. But I've spoken with Troy Primo, and he had similar issues. What we're talking about with the Trinidad Scorpion, he had similar issues with the 7-pot Primo and
Hmm.
Carolina Reaper. Um, what patterns do you see in how the Caribbean chili creators, or the people that you've spoken to, how they're treated by the international chili community? Do you see it in a similar way?
Well, I should start off by saying so. I watched that series, and it was only after I watched it did I learn about the controversy with the Scorpion and the Reaper and the 7-pot Primo. So I didn't know any of that
Oh wow,
existed.
okay.
Um,
Well, I guess if
I,
you only got into this properly in like the last 3 years,
yeah, that's it.
most people don't know. How
No,
many
exactly.
people still think that Ed Curry is just incredible?
Well,
Um,
up until the chili farm, I just knew off the Carolina Reaper. I just knew off the ghost chili. I didn't even know there was a chili called a Naga chili, to be fair. So it was a lot to learn. And then I watched that series, and I didn't realize there was all this controversy and all of that. But to your question about the pepper growing and all of that, right? I From my very small sampling with this trip back to Trinidad and speaking to family members, I think, and knowing a lot of farmers generally across Trinidad who just grow stuff and sell it at the markets, I don't think the average Trinidadian grower who's growing in a small way knows much about the controversy and the issues with pepper breeding and stuff like that. Because you go to any market in Trinidad, you'll have a vendor selling. You have bird's eye chili. Sometimes it's even piri piri, but nobody will differentiate the two. They'll just say it's a bird's eye chili, put it there in a pile, small little bullet shaped peppers. That's it. And then he'll have some Scotch bonnet, and then he'll have some undifferentiated hot peppers, and that's it. And then and that's what the vast majority of people shopping for peppers would encounter. You take a step from that, and you go to the hot sauce making companies, and they are literally just putting any hot peppers they can to get the heat level of the sauce to where they want it, because they're bulking it out with green papaya, um, sometimes pineapple, green pineapple, whatever it is, green mangoes, whatever they can get to bulk out the sauce, because it's then purely just a commercial operation. So the and it's not necessarily because they're supermarket style hot sauces, because they are sold in our equivalent of farm shops and delis, as well as the Tesco equivalents in Trinidad. They are literally just trying to make a profit on making a load of sauce and selling it, irrespective of the nuances there.
so even those hot sauce vendors probably don't really understand
Mm-mm,
how
they
big the
don't.
market actually is and how
No,
lucrative it is.
no idea. The big one, the big commercial ones, the sort of Berties of the Trinidad chili world, they understand it because they obviously have distributors selling into England and North America and stuff. So they know that there's a big opportunity there, but they don't understand it. In my opinion, I don't think they understand it from the breeding of peppers point of view.
Yeah,
They understand it from people want hot sauces. Let's try and sell them hot sauces.
let's
That's
make it
it.
good and tasty hot sauce. And I'll always say this. I have my issues with Ed Curry, but one thing
Mm.
I'll always say is he's a fantastic marketing person.
Oh, he's
And
yeah,
the fact that he realized, again, it's about a story, right? And he's made a story.
yeah,
His hot sauces and his seeds for the Carolina Reaper, we'll talk about that with Pepper X in a bit.
yeah,
But the Carolina Reaper, the reason they sell so well is because he created this big narrative around the Carolina Reaper, and it's the hottest chili in the world, and it's Guinness World Record, and it kept pumping that, right?
yeah,
And that's what made his sauces so popular and his seeds so popular,
yeah,
and the Carolina Reaper. It's
yeah,
because he put a name on it, like Bertie's. I've never heard of it, right? And it's
yeah.
probably a fantastic sauce, and you'll taste that and you'll think this is amazing.
Mm.
But what is it really telling you? What is the name telling you? I mean, if they like
But I
if
tell
I
you
would,
what,
if they were consulting with me and I was trying to give them some advice on how to grow their business, because I'm sure they're doing perfectly fine, but I would say to them, why are you not banking in on the Trinidad,
Yeah.
story? Just that. Forget Scorpion. Just
This,
why are you not pushing? Bertie doesn't tell me that it's a
no,
Trinidadian
exactly. And
sauce.
but locally to the island, so they may look into doing some of that. I suspect that that's on their radar because in Trinidad, if you when you buy a hot sauce made on the side of the road, no food hygiene accreditation, just some auntie making a sauce and putting a sellotape label on it. That's it. That's all you're getting, right? You might not even get actually. There's several places I bought from where there's no labels on it. You just buy it based on the color of the sauce, and she gives you a little bit of taste. That's it. But sometimes those local vendors will slap their own name on it and stuff like that. And I suspect the term Bertie's would have started as a street vendor name, and it resonates locally, as in we've now taken Uncle Bertie's sauce and now bringing it to you at scale. But
Absolutely,
further
I
afield,
think that goes to the same point here. Like we're talking about Nigel and his brother, right?
yeah,
And they wanted to make a chili that they could sell to the market, that they needed a hot chili.
yeah,
They weren't trying to make a chili because they wanted to make something that was going to blow the world away, or
no,
something that was going to be a big name behind it, right? So they didn't realize the commercial aptitude for it.
yeah,
And I think that's maybe the problem is Americans, they know
they know that they're born with that.
yeah, literally. And I think, Ed's done so much for the chili world. As
Yeah,
whether you love him or hate him, he's done so much for the chili world to get so many people excited about growing chilies or eating
yeah,
chilies or eating hot sauce. So
definitely. I
I
mean,
really
the the
have
pe-
a challenge with how I feel about
how
him
you feel
because
about it. Well,
yeah,
the people who come to the farm who've never tried chilies themselves, their life is completely chili free. They know the Carolina Reaper, and that's how well the marketing has worked, right?
it's a tough one. I mean, by principle, I don't sell the Carolina Reaper. I don't use the Reaper inside any of my sauces.
Right.
It's just out
Yeah,
of
yeah,
principle. And also, I think there are just so many other chilies that are amazing, right?
yeah. I
And
mean,
also,
there's
you probably
loads.
get sued if you go and write Reaper because it's a trademark name,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Well,
So,
we actually the chili farmers actually had a bit of challenge many years ago with our little Reaper icon. We've got
already,
a ghost-looking character carrying a scythe, and the blade on the scythe is a chili. And they tried to say the name of a Reaper is their trademarked, and through a few letters back and forth, they backed down because turns out there was no grounds for it effectively.
I tried it. Somebody tried to sue me because I made a video about cowboy candy, which is a
What?
common name for cowboy candy. But yeah, no, because they registered the trademark in the US for the
Yeah,
name cowboy candy and they're selling it as cowboy candy, some small company.
yeah,
And I said, listen, I'll put a link to your website, but I'm not changing the name. So, oh, okay,
yeah.
that's great. Thank you. I
That
was
was
like,
it.
what? It's just, I don't know, there's some weird people out there, man.
Yeah,
So uh, we need to talk about the Pepper X a little bit.
yeah.
So Ed obviously got the Guinness World Record for the Pepper X. Um, what are your thoughts on it? The
Uh,
Guinness World Records and also the Pepper X and maybe even Ed Curry. I mean,
I I'd start off by talking about Guinness World Records. I find it quite vague as to how all of this happens. I'm a chili grower now, but now or before you'd Google how all of this comes about, as in they'll go there, test and all that. It's quite vague as to how entries are submitted and all of that. So it's
okay. Let me fix that for you.
sure,
They don't come to you.
right, okay.
You
So you see, I
pay
didn't even know
them.
that.
You pay them at least 20 grand. I think it's 20 grand
What?
to apply for this. You're paying. There's a bunch of payments there. 20 grand is probably on the low end here.
Jesus
There's a good couple threads on Reddit where they talk this through. But
All
essentially,
right.
you're paying for them to come and do the testing, to have
Yeah.
one of their what do they call invigilators, or one of the people
Mm.
from Guinness to fly out to you. You're paying for that privilege. They're
Yeah.
coming out. You're paying for this whole process. Same thing happened when the Reaper got it, right?
That's,
There are some records that Guinness World Records will actively go out and try and find, but when it's something like this, believe me,
so
that's paid for.
you're just paying for their brand to then be able to use that.
And then you're paying an
Yeah.
ongoing fee to be constantly being able to say, this is the Guinness World
Oh,
Record
right.
consistency.
I had no clue.
Uh, Guinness World Records is it's a marketing
Yeah,
arm. That's all it is.
I grew up with those big, the big
I love those books. I used to buy it.
holographic.
I used to buy
Yeah,
it for my brother every Christmas. I used to buy
yeah,
it.
that was a thing you wanted, right? Because it was
Right?
like, wow, look, you could look through all these pages and find those record-breaking things. I didn't realize it was that.
It's pay to play. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
there's that. I mean, at least from that perspective, and your farmers that you met out in Trinidad, they can't
Yeah, there's
afford
no way.
that.
No, 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 there's no way that was going to happen, and that's why I want to sort of dig into some of the university research because those academic researches will be shelved somewhere, right?
I'd love to see that. If you do get that, I mean,
I'll
even
get
if
it.
it's
I'll share it with you if ever
love,
I can get the
yeah.
archives. I still have some friends working in the agricultural division there, so see if they can dig out some of the analects of of the agri
Well,
department.
not only would it be great to see those results, but I think it'd be fascinating to see how they're doing the testing because
Mm,
this is the challenge, and this is something I've spoken to a few prominent chili growers and breeders about. The way we test Scoville, right?
mm.
It's we're obviously using these what do you call them? Massive machines.
The liquid chromatography type
Yes, there you go.
things.
High
Yeah,
pressure liquid chromatography,
yeah,
HPLC, right?
yeah,
So we're using those machines to measure spikes in certain elements that are
yeah,
within the chili.
yeah,
One of the spikes will be on capsaicin.
yeah,
The problem is there's lots of different types of capsaicin. When you're measuring capsaicin from a Tabasco pepper or a jalapeno,
yeah.
there's a very specific capsaicin. I think it's capsaicin dihydride or something. I can't remember the exact names.
Yeah, it's got individual signatures for.
But you go and measure a fatali, for example.
Hmm.
A fatali will measure low. I think it measures something like 2,000, 3,000 Scoville, because that's if you're measuring the traditional way, which is just that one spike.
Yeah,
The thing is, it has another element to it
yeah,
that is way up. And they found that. So, depending on how you're doing the testing and who's doing the testing and who has the experience to do the testing, you're going to get very, very different results. Now, that's why the Fatali is used so widely in crossing. So the
hmm,
Primatali is a
hmm.
cross between a Fatali and a Semper Primo.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
And the reason they cross it with a Fatali, which is actually around about 500,000 Scoville, so it's not
Hmm,
huge, but crossing that, it has this high spike in that one little element there of the type of capsaicin that
hmm.
when that mixes in with the Semper Primo and you suddenly get the result here, it
It,
escalates everything.
yeah,
And that's where you get the Primatali, which is just insane.
yeah.
So how you measure it is quite interesting. I'd love to see how they're doing. I mean, they obviously have a lot of experience
Well,
over in Trinidad
I mean,
measuring.
if these tests were back in the 90s, I would imagine. I mean, chromatography has been around for a
Oh, it's
long
been around
time.
for yeah,
Yeah, so
many, many years.
it would have just been more crude equipment, but the same principle.
Well, they might have been doing it the traditional way, right? Again, that's something I've discussed with a few people. If you're measuring Scoville, Scoville is Wilbur Scoville,
Yeah, yeah,
guy
yeah,
back in was it early 1900s.
yeah,
Figured a way how to do this, and it's subjective, right?
yeah.
It's
I
about
sus
tasting
I
sugar
suspect that
water diluted with chili.
I would hope, and I would suspect that they are using more sophisticated methods than that.
I would
But
still think that is probably the best way to do it, right? If you get 3 or 4 people to
yeah,
test
yeah,
this and keep doing the dilution until you get into that point, because
yeah.
for people that are listening here that don't know, Scoville is it's in well this the original method. Obviously, we now measure with HPLC, so we try and get an approximation of what the Scoville is based on what the chemical readings are. But the traditional Scoville scale is if it's 100 Scoville, that means that 1 drop of the chili inside 100 drops of sugar water is at that point that you just start to not detect the heat.
Mm,
So when you go up to 1,000 Scoville, you got 1,000 drops of sugar water with 1 drop of the chili, and that's 1,000 Scoville because at that point that's when it starts not being able to be detected. So when you're going up to 2 million Scoville, that means you've got 2 million drops of the sugar water for one drop of the chili. So that's just puts it into, relativity here of just how hot this actually is.
Yeah.
And I still think that is, I mean, that's what the Scoville scale is. And I think that's still probably the most accurate way to detect this, especially when you consider, with these new hybrids that we're getting out there and some of the
Yeah.
extreme ones, the different forms of capsaicin that's in there. How do you monitor for that or
Well,
detect
I
for that?
this morning I was looking at an academic paper written from some sort of perspective of how chemical compounds form in fruit, and I was digging around to try and find more information about the gene control of capsaicin production in the cells. And there's some interesting research that shows that the plant is switching these genes on and off
Oh wow.
uh, intentionally on the same plant in different parts of the plant, which is bizarre. So, as in, you'd expect the genome of the plant to be the same across the whole plant structure because the plant is one organism, but it's changing the genes here versus here despite it being the same plant. Wild stuff. Um, so
There's
I could
so
have
much to learn. And
with that, yeah, I could have gone down a rat hole, but I've got nothing done if I did that. So I came
oh,
back
I
out.
often that'll be me for a day if I start going down any sort of those little holes. You know,
But
I th- I think that we have got so much to learn about chilies and the health benefits. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the video I've done on the health benefits of chilies.
yeah,
That blew me away. I mean, that took me down a rabbit hole. I mean, I spent nearly a month and a half, 2 months doing research on that video.
yeah,
And just because it was just fascinating to see what was going on. And the biggest thing I learned there was that the mechanism for the heat, for
hmm
us detecting the heat of a chili, guess when that was discovered? How long ago do you think? Take a wild guess.
I don't. I mean, I guess people knew of chilies being spicy, as in our modern day understanding of it, or when did
Just why do we detect heat and how?
I,
So
I know
I'll,
there's a gene that some people have and
So
some
there's
people
a gene
don't.
that allows you to do it, but
Yeah,
the big thing here, and this is where the medical breakthroughs came through when they discovered this, because it was fairly recent, right? We're
right.
talking after 2000. The
Really?
TRPV1 receptor. So the
Yeah.
TRPV1 receptor is what your body, that's what detects the heat of the chilies.
hmm
The thing is that they only discovered this in it was early 2000s, and the people that discovered it won a Nobel Prize for it because of how impactful this is.
Yeah.
And the reason it's so important is because they're looking at it from a research perspective for cancer research, for gut health. I mean, the cancer one's the big one, obviously, right?
Yeah.
That's the holy grail when it comes to medical research. But there's so
Yeah.
many other things. Pain relief. That's been one that people have been doing for a long time. There's lots of topical creams that you can use with that
Yeah.
has capsaicin in. But yeah, the TRPV1 receptor was only recently discovered. So what else are we going to discover? In the next 20 years, in the next 50 years, it's crazy to see. But
the
we didn't answer the question about the Pepper X. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. Just like you and many other of your viewers would realize, every time I look at a picture of, I Google it, I come across a different picture being used to describe
Different
what pepper
colors,
is.
different
Yeah,
shape.
different color, shape, everything. Now, I had to include that in our chiliometer design little post that we have. So I went for the mustard color one because that's the one I've seen most often. Um, I have seen mustard mamas and other types of mustard looking chilies look very similar uh, physiologically to what is shown on I guess on all the media releases, let's say from Pepper X. And I know he's safeguarding seeds and all of that, right?
But
There's
okay,
all these
you
stories
sell
around it.
seeds, right?
Yeah,
So explain this to me, because this is the argument that I just do not get, where he's saying, "Oh, no, I'm safeguarding a seed because I got ripped off with the Carolina Reaper." That guy
yeah,
made millions off the Carolina Reaper
yeah, he
seeds.
did.
So what reason would there be? What actual reason would there be? I mean, you sell seeds. If you
do,
made
do
a
you?
new variety, why
I'd
would you
want to
not
start
sell the
selling it
seed?
right away. Yeah, yeah, I'd
Exactly.
start selling it right away. I mean, and yes, other people would buy it, and then they have one season within which to collect seeds and sell again, and maybe call it their own. Fine, you can't really control that. I mean, you could go down the route of trying to get breeders' rights, but that takes years. And then what do you even do? Who's
But
got
that
legal?
doesn't matter. I mean, listen, I sell the CC Peri Peri. I've been selling that for a long time. The ChilliChump Peri Peri.
Yeah,
It's my isolated variety that I've been selectively breeding for a long, long time. People can go and sell it. That's fine. But people
yeah,
still come back to me to buy the original seeds. They want to know that these are the
yeah,
ones that you've grown. And the same thing would happen there. Pepper X. He's
yeah. No,
still selling the Carolina Reaper seeds.
I don't. What that doesn't bother me too much, to be honest. What bothers me is that there's been very little independent involvement in holding the chilies, checking them, cutting them open. I understand you want to safeguard. Commercially, I can understand. Yes, you might want to get breeders' rights. Genetic breeders' rights in America with big agri there. I can see how that can potentially work, right? And he make even more than he would have done on a Reaper. I can get that. But what I don't understand is why hasn't there been anybody outside of his inner circle to have touched this pepper, cut it open, tasted, anything like that, filmed it? It's always highly controlled. That's why I think it's a little bit strange.
The guy is passionate. I mean, I would hope he is passionate about chilies. You don't do what he's been doing for as long as he's been doing just because of the money, right? He must
Yeah,
love growing chilies, and he must love the hot sauce, and he eats hot chilies. I've seen him doing it.
yeah,
If you're that passionate about it, you can't hold back. I'm so excited about the stuff I'm growing, even the stuff that
yeah,
I haven't created. I
yeah.
want to share it with people. Of course, I'm going to be doing that. And the fact that he's being so tight-lipped about it and so controlled, I don't
Well,
quite.
let's take a bet. When do you think Pepper X seeds will hit the market?
What? I don't believe it exists.
Yeah.
So
Well,
never.
Let's assume it.
From his perspective, so Pepper X seeds in terms of Ed Curry saying, "Hey, we're going to
Saying,
sell
hey,
some Pepper
we're
X
going to
seeds,"
sell some seeds and you can buy it, but if you're a commercial grower, you're not allowed to grow it.
which is the
That's
same thing he did with the Carolina Reaper. So he restricted that. He restricted it to like 3 big growers, and one of them was a very not a very well liked person in the chili
right.
community and caused a lot of problems. But they grew these out, and these that caused a lot of controversy back then. So he was trying to control it back then as well, so nobody
Yeah.
could resell them. And he was selling them for something like $5 a seed or something stupid.
I mean, maybe he does even a bit more uh, uh, aggressive approach to stopping people growing it and
How?
selling it on. I don't know, by threatening legal action, maybe.
He threatened, but he did. He threatened legal action with the Reaper, and he did. He sued people. I mean, people got in trouble. But is he going to do it? I don't know that he will. I
You
think
think that
I
you
think
think
he's
he'll
already
release
talking. He's already talking about, oh, he's got something even hotter.
another pepper?
He said
Yeah.
he's got something even hotter. So
So you think there, I mean, there's a lot of marketing momentum to be had from keeping it to himself, never releasing it, and then having another one tested.
well, we're talking about it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Another one tested that's even hotter than Pepper X, and then he makes all the money from the publicity of the release rather than the actual release. I don't know.
I, I
I
I don't quite understand it. I mean,
I,
oh,
I I don't want to go into conspiracy theories, but I mean could, yeah, I mean you have to pay Guinness to come and do the test and all of that. I don't know. I mean,
no,
I
but he
would have.
didn't. But Guinness didn't do the test, so he got it tested again. That's all came out in the wash, and there, I think it was Winthrop University that did the
Yeah,
testing, which is a local university that, again, I don't know 100% for sure, and obviously this is going out into the public. But what my understanding is he's a big sponsor of theirs,
yeah. But
which
then,
I'm
but then you
sorry,
know,
you should be
but
putting it to an independent.
but why would Guinness talk about it as if they've? I mean, they're the ones who independently did it. When going back to the Moruga Scorpion, so I made a note here, right?
Yeah,
So the Moruga Scorpion, it was tested at 1.2. Well, it's officially recognized as 1.2 something million Scoville, right? Which then got beat by the Butch T Scorpion. There's some controversy
1.4,
there.
wasn't it, or
Yeah, something like that. But then I read an article somewhere, I can't find it again, I need to dig it out, where the Moruga Scorpion was actually tested again at over 2 million back in 2010 or 2011, but because it was never verified by Guinness or their people didn't do it, they never updated their records.
Guinness
on that.
don't do any testing. They'll verify, right? So they'll do some level of verification, and that's it.
Well,
It's
just yeah. So that whole thing is what gets me a little bit weirded out. On the I should say probably on the Butch T Scorpion side of things, right? I've written this down because it's really confusing. So Butch T 2011, hottest in the world, Guinness record, whatever. Then Trinidad Moruga Scorpion in 2012, so a year after the Butch T, right? But then I read somewhere that I don't know how true it is, but somebody claims that the Butch T Scorpion had Moruga Scorpion genetics when it was classed hottest in the world before the Moruga Scorpion. I don't know. How is this even possible?
Yeah, again, this goes back to like the 7-pot Primo versus Carolina
Yeah,
Reaper, where people
exactly.
are basically saying it's the same chili, but you can't really test it. And here's the thing: if I grow a Reaper or if I grow a 7-pot Primo, and then I grow it again next year, I could get totally different heat levels,
Yeah,
and I could get totally different looking pods. I'm not
yeah.
necessarily going to have them be 100% the same every time.
And that's irrespective of if you've even if you've done proper isolation and
Oh,
everything, it still
yeah,
comes back that way, right? Yeah,
it could be regression, but even if it's not regression, it could just be that plant.
yeah,
Everything is just different. So
yeah.
yeah, I don't like playing that game. Like I've said this a few times. I've tried the CC Jigsaw Brain, for example. I would say it ranks in the top 5 hottest chilies in the
Hmm.
world right now. I've had the Primatali chocolate, which until I'd had the Wartrix, I believe the Primatali chocolate was the hottest thing I'd ever had. Then the
Yeah.
Wartrix, I tried that. That blew my mind. I mean, it literally stopped my mind. I couldn't talk for a while. But at the same time, I also did the CC Jigsaw Brain. It had the same kind of effect on me.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit there and make this claim. I don't need the fame. I don't really care. I
So,
just do this for the love of it, right?
have you ever looked into? I should ask if you've looked into any of these uh, small home size style Scoville meters?
Oh,
Because a guy,
that's a whole nother story. We'll talk offline about that. I actually
yeah,
went round to the university where the
yeah.
guy was testing. Well, he had the patent for this,
What's his
and
name? Because I don't know if it's the same guy who's been messaging me, asking me to buy this
oh
piece of equipment. Zimmer of some kind? Is
yes,
it,
be careful. Well,
yeah.
listen,
No, no,
I can't tell you what to do.
no, no, no. You're not
But
talking about it. No, no. But I didn't jump. Uh,
what I will say, and I, I wanted it to be real. I wanted it to be real so bad because when you
yeah,
can get that machine, even if it cost $1,000, it would have
yeah,
been great, right?
yeah.
But he was saying it's even less than that. And when I went round to do some testing, I've got the footage. I've still got all the footage.
All
I
right.
just never released it because I want this to succeed. The problem is, it's the same thing we were talking about earlier, where you're doing HPLC and you're testing, and you can test on certain spikes. So
Yeah.
if you're testing, like, you could be quite consistent if you're testing capsicum annuum, capsicum frutescens,
Hmm.
the lower heat, even habaneros, which don't really have the high spikes of some of the others. That's why there's a sort of a limit of about
Yeah.
350, 400,000 Scoville when it comes to habanero Scotch bonnets, because there's a limit to what it can do until you start going into some of these
Hmm.
hybrids. I went round to him. That machine, I believe, the patent that it's the work that the patent does, I think only detects on that one capsaicin. It does
Right.
that fairly accurately.
Yeah.
So he goes around and he shows you testing. He tests Tabasco sauce.
Hmm.
He pulls out this old bottle of Tabasco sauce. He says, "See, it's 5,000 Scoville. There you go."
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Okay, that's great. Yeah, let's try this 7-pot Primo sauce," which is, I brought one of my 7-pot Primo sauces to him,
Right.
and he tested it and he says, "That's 800 Scoville." I'm like, "Sorry, 800,000? No, 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 800 Scoville." I'm like,
800.
there was something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but it
Yeah.
was low. It was like under 1,000. I said, "So you're saying that this is less hot than the Tabasco sauce?" So he says, "Well, the machine's there. This machine doesn't lie." I'm like, "Okay, try it."
Yeah.
He did, and he was in agony. I mean, again, it comes down to this. Is why I said to you, the HPLC. Yes, I love technology, and I love
Yeah.
the idea that can be accurate for some things, but the best way is still the subjective way of tasting it. Right?
Yeah.
Taste it. Just that your taste buds don't lie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I ended up not going live with the video. There's a lot of footage there, and I don't want to kill the research on that. I want it
No,
to,
yeah,
if they could
yeah,
figure a way, and hopefully they have. Maybe they have figured it out and they're able to detect more than that. But there's a reason HPLCs cost so much, right? And
yeah,
why the people that can work
exactly.
with them are so highly skilled because it's not
I
easy.
Yeah, when I got approached, I mean, he's been approaching the chili farm since 20, I mean, per 2003 or something when he first started researching this. And since we've been here, every year I've been contacted, and every year I keep saying, no, I don't want to know the heat level of my chili jam. I put a,
Because it
I
could
put a
change
subject
every year anyway, right?
exactly, and I put a subjective rating on there, um, I shouldn't say a qualitative rating on there, and that's good enough, you know. But yeah, I keep getting pestered.
Yeah,
to
so
purchase
I think it was called the chili pot
something
originally.
like that. Yeah,
But they bought, so this guy bought the patent from a small research area. He bought the patent for it and then built this little machine, and
yeah,
there you go. It's the idea is great, and it would be fantastic for home growers, and
yeah,
for me, we're growing my chilies to be able to
yeah.
know exactly what the Scoville is. That'd be awesome.
Rather than kind of like guesstimating in between ranges and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly, but we aren't there yet. It's just the
No,
patent,
I'm glad
unfortunately.
to know I wasn't the only one, and I didn't get fooled into.
Well,
Well,
it's not
either I
cool.
wouldn't.
I think he honestly believes it, but
But if you're not
as soon
tasting
as you're
chilies
going with the
themselves,
hotter stuff, which is actually what you want to test, you want to
yeah,
test the super hot. You know, I don't care
you're
what
not
a
interested
jalapeno is.
in.
I
Yeah,
know, like my jalapenos are hot, right?
yeah,
It's twice as hot as a normal jalapeno. Great. So now it's 10,000 Scoville.
yeah,
Okay. So
yeah,
what? Right. I can tell you it's hot. But
yeah.
it's the hotter chilies where you've got a sauce that you're going to be charging 20 quid for a bottle of that sauce because
Because yeah,
it's concentrated and you want to be able to say this is 4 million Scoville, right?
yeah,
Then you can market it at whatever price you want.
yeah,
But it's just not there.
yeah. Until that
So,
time, no. But yeah, I
okay.
mean, where do you go from here? But
It's a tough one. It's a fun old industry. It keeps things interesting with these little things. Okay, so we are coming close to well, we're way over an hour, so I hope I haven't kept you from other
no,
work.
that's all right.
Um, but I wanted to jump in with a couple questions before we go with the quickfire round again.
Yeah,
Um, what's the strangest request you've ever gotten from a customer at South Devon Chili Farm?
a customer bought loads of plants, something like 20 plants. It was about 18 plants, 1 liter plants from us. And the customer claimed that we did not give them any labels when we sent the plants out to them. So, and then called up and said we didn't send them any plants, any labels. So that that in itself is a bit strange. We can't pick the plants from the benches to send out without knowing because they all look very similar. And
Yeah.
when they're only about yay high. The strange request on top of that came, well, send me the labels and I'll put the labels into the plant pots. And then I asked the question, well, how would you know which plants to put the labels in until they start fruiting? And the conversation went dead at that point. So it turns out they just wanted extra labels.
Wow.
Uh, it I just thought this is a bit. You buy these many plants and you just want extra labels, but it was on the back of thinking that we would not we would pick 18 plants off a bench and not have labels on them. How would I even know what to pick from it?
Wow.
That is one strange request. I suppose you give another one. Just have a think. Oh yeah. So one customer asked if they can go into our show tunnel and collect some chili plant, some fruits themselves, and collect some seeds. Bearing in mind we collect seeds and we sell seeds, right? And they said, could we just collect some seeds from the show tunnel? But we sell seeds in the shop. And we're saying, well, so you want us to just give you free seeds? And they said, yeah, well, we just want to pick it ourselves. I said, this doesn't work like that.
Well, that's a question I've had recently. It's a tough one. People want to buy. They see my videos, and if
Yeah,
they're fairly local, they want to buy some of my super hots.
yeah,
And I'm like, I can do that, but I'll charge you what it's worth to me, right?
yeah.
because I have to
Exactly.
harvest seeds from those,
And do
and
something with it.
how
Yeah.
much would I sell those seeds for? Now I'm going to give you a box of 20 chilies. Great.
Yeah.
It's not going to be cheap. So I
Yeah.
don't think it's worth your while. It's not that I'm trying to rip you off, but that's worth more to me to make into sauces or to sell seeds
Exactly. Yeah.
than
Yeah.
it is to
I
me to sell a pod to
I
you.
haven't had any strange requests about like what do you do for fun and do you eat lots of chilies and can we eat a chili together? Can we, like what was that? What's that called when you sort of interlock arms and you take a drink? Um, I haven't had any requests like that. I don't
Oh, you're lucky. I have.
have.
Not the interlocking arms, but I've had some other interesting ones.
Oh God,
Okay, he has an interesting one. What's the most ridiculous thing you've ever had to explain to someone about chilies?
could it not be about chilies? Could it be
Okay.
about tomatoes?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I had a way back when I was in London, and this was my early days of growing chilies and tomatoes and stuff in the UK. We set up a commercial. We set up a little community garden in London to show kids and family members where food come from and that sort of thing. We had an adult lady who came up and said to us she didn't realize that tomatoes were green before they turned red. She thought that they emerged from the plant red and ripe. And I had to say no. I said it starts off green and then it ripens, and it might start off, green and turn purple or whatever. She had no idea, no clue. And that same person didn't realize that carrots didn't have a root an edible root that has to form first. She thought,
It is
she
the
thought
root.
it is the root. She thought you plant a seed and then a big root forms, and
And
then
then the carrot
stuff,
comes afterwards.
and then the carrot comes afterwards.
Well, on
Strange.
the same note, I've had the same one with jalapenos, having to explain to people that you don't get red jalapenos and green jalapenos. Green jalapeno is just an unripe jalapeno.
Unripe jalapeno.
Oh,
I mean,
honestly, that
we do.
conversation, I just have it way too often.
Well, we have a lot of people coming to the shop asking to buy chipotle plants, and
So you just light it on fire and say, "Here you go."
there's a chipotle plant. But yeah, that chipotle one is probably the. I mean, we get people saying chipotle, and that gives us a laugh here and there. But when they ask to buy a chipotle plant, that's the thing. And then you spend a good 10 minutes explaining what a chipotle is.
Well, I was just about to say a similar one is paprika, but people then have gone and confused this
Ah,
now by creating paprika plants. So when people say,
oh
"I want a
God,
paprika plant," it's like,
yeah,
you know what paprika is, right? It's
yeah,
bell peppers that are dry.
yeah.
But no, now you get a paprika plant. So it's like, now I can't
You can't
even
even
make fun of that
make fun
anymore.
of that. Yeah,
That's marketing for you, right? Just
yeah,
you need
indeed.
to go make a chipotle plant.
I know. I need to.
Oh, here you go. Here's a chipotle plant. Yeah, there's a few steps you need to take once they ripen, though.
Yeah, it's. I mean, we do have the strange ones when it comes to the ancho poblanos and mulattoes and the confusions with the names and all of that. I still on a day-to-day basis have to explain to people what is a poblano, what is an ancho poblano, what is a mulatto, or technically speaking, it should be a mulatto poblano. Yeah,
It's fun. I just love that they're interested. I really don't mind answering these questions. I
no,
just love
exactly,
that they're
because
keen on it.
and
It's
it
just
leads
when
to
they
another
start
conversation.
arguing with you about it,
Oh,
that's
well,
when it's a problem.
so I've had at least three people come to us in the last 2 years. Well, not 2 years since Pepper X came on the scene, saying, and I'm sure you know about where I'm going with this, saying we're growing Pepper X,
Oh,
and I say to them, I was like, no, you're not growing Pepper
I
X.
called
I said,
out the company that's been selling them.
oh,
It's
I suspect they bought it from them or whoever, right? And I go through the whole story about whether or not the whole Ed Curry stuff is true and what the seeds are he's doing
they
with
haven't
Pepper X.
been released, so
Yeah, yeah, all that sort of thing. And they're like, no, 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 we bought it. We're growing Pepper X. It's going to look like Pepper X. It looks like Pepper X already. Oh my God. And then but they want validation from me because they see us as chili farmers. They want some engagement. I said, I genuinely don't know what to say to you now. I don't think you're growing Pepper X. Let's leave it at that. If you grow Pepper X and you think you've grown it, send me a picture. That's that's how I leave it.
yeah, I'm just trying to think. There's a guy that's telling me he's got pepper X seeds, and I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, no. So I bought a bottle of the sauce that he's got pepper X
Oh, and he
inside of,
strained the
and then I
seed
got
out
some
of it.
seeds out of it. I'm like, you know,
Yeah.
he cooks those
Yeah.
sauces. Mm.
Oh God. Yeah.
Okay, one more story time question. Ever had? Oh, sorry. Do you have any chili related superstitions or rituals?
I had one yesterday
Oh yeah.
come about. So in Trinidad, we have a superstition, and my mom, hand on heart, will use this every time. Up until yesterday, she did it with me. So she's visiting in Trinidad. Nobody will let you hand them, as in place a chili pepper from your hand into their hand. It has to be put on the
Why?
counter. It has to be put on the counter. So if I give you a Scotch bonnet now, and I was to hand it to you, and you're Trinidad, you would not hold it. You would want me to put it on a plate or put it on the table, and then you take it from the table. Because the belief is that if I hand it to you, we will have a falling out, and there will be a quarrel that will ensue, and that we will never be friends again.
How did that come about?
No idea. But this happened literally yesterday evening. So yesterday evening we were making Chinese long bean with potato curried in a pot. And I messaged Jenny and I said, "Can you bring me some Trinidad pimentos from the farm? Because it'll be nice to put some of that in it, because that's what we use it back home." And she brought me some. And she came through the door in the kitchen. I went in the bag. I grabbed a couple, and my mom was cutting up the onions and everything on to the left of me. And I was about to place in her hand the two pimento peppers, and she was like, "No, what are you doing? Don't do that." And I had forgotten about this superstition, because I can't remember the last time I handed another Trinidadian person some chilies in their hand. And I was like, "What's wrong? Is something wrong with them?" She said, "No, you can't do that." And then it clicked. I remembered. She said, "No, put it down on the counter next to me, and then I'll take it from there."
Wow.
Bizarre. And I tried to get her to explain. She said, I have to explain nothing to you. This is our tradition."
It's because I said so.
Because I said so. That's literally what she said, and that was it.
Wow.
So yeah, and recalling from that, if I'm back in Trinidad, if I try to do that with any of my aunts or uncles, they will not take it, and they'll accept it from the vendor in the market because he's put it into a bag, and you're holding the bag. You're not actually holding the chili. There you go.
Well, that's a good answer. I think you might be creating some more superstitions with the people that are listening now. They're not going to be handing over. They're going to be
Oh
scared.
God,
That might be a
I feel as
Trinidadian
if
that I'm
that's
passing it.
doing our industry a disservice, isn't it? Nobody's going to want to trade chilies anymore.
Okay, let's ask some quick fire here quickly. What's the hottest pepper you've ever eaten whole?
Whole.
Yeah. Oh, come on. You haven't eaten a whole one.
The hottest pepper I've eaten whole would be a Trinidad cherry pepper. A wiri wiri.
Where is that Trinidadian?
So
I thought the wiri wiri was from
so
Australia.
Trinidad's answer to the wiri wiri is a Trinidad cherry pepper, which I believe is just another version of the wiri wiri.
Okay.
Indistinguishable. So if you were to grow a wiri wiri to a Trinidadian, they would just call it a Trinidad cherry pepper. So I don't know how that
It's probably another one of those that have crossed the pond.
Yeah,
and
across the pond and sort of.
hey,
Yeah,
we'll rename that.
so that's the only pepper I could say I've eaten whole. I've had all the super hots.
Have you tried superhots though?
I've tried super hots. I've tried the reapers and the scorpions and the jalokias and stuff, but like a small amount on the end of a toothpick.
Oh, you're missing out. You've got to come visit. You got to come visit here, or I got to come
Honestly,
visit you, and we got to do one together.
when that happens, we'll definitely have a full on session. But I tell you what, like this is gonna make your viewers laugh, but I genuinely worry about what happens the other end. At the other end,
it's not the other end that's a problem. Unless your digestive system is super fast, it's not what happens on the other end. It's what happens in between. So for me, the pain in the mouth is fine because that's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and it'll go.
It's gone.
With really, really hot ones like the Primatali and that sort of thing, my tongue will be kind of numb for about a day. Right?
How much are you eating of this? Like a
thing.
bite? The whole. Holy shit!
You should watch my live streams. So my next live stream is going to be an interesting one. I'll actually be trying both the Warthogs because I got two of the Warthogs. I got the yellow variety, for some reason is yellow, and then I've got the traditional red one.
I'm going to wait for you to get those seeds out to the market because we've been wanting to grow those out here for ages.
The red one that I have, it looks very true to type. The others, so some some are a bit weird, and also the yellow. I mean, there's nobody said that the Warthog was yellow, but yeah, a
Yeah,
lot of people are that have been growing it on have got yellow pods.
the yellow
Yeah,
ones now.
I'll be trying that on the next live stream. The last live stream I did a 7-pot, what was it, 7-pot yellow, and the one before
I've
that.
never watched your live streams, but I can't believe you're eating them whole.
Oh yeah, on the
Jesus
live stream.
Christ.
That's scary because you can't talk when you've done that. You can barely think. I mean, the
I
pain
I
just
am genuinely
builds.
worried about what my toilet experience is going to be like. The
Like I said,
burn.
you gotta prepare for it, right? So I have a little routine, a little ritual that I have, and I'll share it with you offline. I don't want to give it away too much,
Oh
but
God.
essentially, just have a fry up. Even if you just have some
Yeah,
bacon or something like that beforehand, or a milkshake. A milkshake will do the job.
yeah,
Just as long as you have that before, because
yeah.
then you basically don't want an empty stomach. If you eat one of those super hots on an empty stomach,
Well,
the cramps are going to be
so
insane.
I kind of experienced that to some extent. So we have a ghost sauce, a reaper sauce, and a scorpion sauce that we sell, right? And about 5 6 months ago, we decided to run a little challenge with the staff members here. Everybody gathered on the patio, did a teaspoon of Buchlokia sauce, and this is made with just Buchlokia vinegar, salt, water. That's it. So it's quite strong on the boot content. And I tasted it. I can handle the heat, so put it in my mouth. I didn't really swish it around too much, but I swallowed it. My mouth started burning, but I was fine. I forgot I didn't really have breakfast that morning.
Oh,
So I left everybody on the patio. Some people were like chundering in the orchard. Some people were running through the fields. The ones who can't handle the heat, they were struggling. I was like, yeah, it's me, I'm fine. A couple other people were fine. I came back to my desk, started doing some work, and then the sweats came. I felt the cold sweats. My stomach was gurgling. I started hyperventilating a bit, and I got lightheaded. And I then realized it was because I had nothing in my stomach, and I couldn't fix the problem. I just had to wait it out. I was riding it out.
I learned the hard way. So I think it was 1,000 subscriber special. I did it with my brother-in-law who does not eat hot stuff, and
Mm,
I basically brought all my hottest chilies. Stupidly, a whole tray of these hot chilies,
yeah.
and we just started eating them. And my problem is I can't throw up. I have a
Oh,
bit of a problem where I can't throw
yeah.
up. So
That's in your favor then, to some extent.
no, it's not a good thing because my brother-in-law, I mean, it was pain. We were in a lot of agony eating these things. He was
Yeah.
able to go and throw up straight afterwards. He was perfectly
Right.
fine after that. That night,
Yeah.
I got home. It's about an hour later, and I was lying on the floor. My wife thought she had to take me to ER, to the emergency room. I was lying on the floor because I find the best way is cold floor on your back. It
Okay.
sort of stops it. But I literally, it was the first time I've ever actually got an in-depth knowledge of how your digestive system works. I could feel it moving through my intestines.
Oh God.
I could feel it at every angle, and it lasted for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. It was just
That
intense.
feels as if it's flew through your system then for you to be able to.
Oh, well, it's the upper intestines that I really felt it.
Okay. Right.
When it starts breaking it down, because basically it's the oils that are just sitting
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
The body's absorbing that inside your intestines. It is agony. That the capsaicin cramps, that's the cap cramps.
Yeah.
That is the worst part of it. So I do everything I can to avoid that now, and I pretty much got it nailed down. I've had it badly twice more from live streams that I did where I didn't prepare properly, and
Yeah.
I was in pain. But
So
I don't really get it too much now.
one of the things we want to do at the farm here is, I mean, we grow a lot of varieties, right? Different ones every year. My wife's been saying she wants to go around with me tasting every single one, going up the scale, but properly tasting them and show everybody the pain I'm going through. And I said yes to this. Um, but I don't think I committed to eating a whole one. But I don't know what happened when I get there.
You got to. I want to do. I want to do one with you now because it's
Oh
always fun.
gosh.
It's always fun when, as long as you can, you know what you can expect, right? Because that's the
Yeah,
thing. If people are going from a jalapeno, like that's all they've eaten in their life, and then they
yeah,
suddenly go and have a Trinidad Scorpion or a
yeah. That's yeah.
Primatali
It
or
can be
something,
bad right away.
you're just going to panic, and it's
Yeah,
not going to be enjoyable because it is enjoyable. I know it's hot and it hurts, but
yeah,
there's a real buzz you get afterwards as long
yeah.
as you can handle
Definitely.
it.
I I think one thing I'm besides the sort of what happens at the other end. I am a little bit worried about how much I might hiccup I've had
I don't hiccup, but the last live stream I did, man, I was
yeah.
hiccuping. What happens to me is I get sore ears. It
Mm,
hurts. Yeah, the glands just behind the ears and
yeah.
agony. But
That's
I hiccuped the last time.
somebody will get me to try a whole one at some point.
I'll get you. We'll go do a Warthog together. You can come do the live
Oh
stream with me.
God.
We can have it on live stream. Yeah, we'll get you committing to that.
Whew.
Okay, so let me honestly quick fire because we're
Yeah.
going to be all night otherwise. Biggest chili myth that drives you crazy?
Is that if a chili plant gets cross-pollinated, the fruit
Oh,
within that plant will get hot.
yeah, I get that one all the time. Yeah. So just to explain that, just so people that are new growers,
Mm,
if you're growing a jalapeno next to a Carolina Reaper and that jalapeno happens to be hot, it's not because it's crossed with the Carolina Reaper. It might have crossed, but it's the seeds are the only things that are going to be impacted, and
yeah.
that'll grow in the next generation. Is
Yeah.
not going to impact the chili that
Yeah.
generation.
I have to answer that question
Yeah.
every day.
Well, I mean, I get it even worse than that. Sometimes it's like, oh, look at this chili. I think it got crossed. I'm going to isolate this now. I'm like, what do you mean? It's not going to show a shape because it got crossed that year.
Yeah.
Fun. What's the most underrated chili that people should be growing but aren't?
I think from a flavor point of view, and I'm probably doing you a service, is um, bird's eye slash piri piri chilies. I think they are underrated. So we make salsas back home called chow, mango salsas, lots of coriander, no onions, garlic, coriander, salt, black pepper, chilies. And most often than not, you want to season it with chilies with a bird's eye type chili, piri piri, something like that.
I
The
love
flavor,
the burn of
yeah,
a bird's eye chili. It's the lips. It hits it quick
yeah,
and it
yeah,
disappears quickly. But
yeah, exactly.
it's just you feel good, right? It's just
And
such
I
a
and I think it's underrated because I don't. I think a lot of people worry that the plant has to be a big plant, tall plant, and have the space and all of that sort of thing to get fruits from it. I think that's one of the worries. But it's an underrated plant.
I think from a culinary perspective, it's underrated, but also from a growing perspective, I think it's one of the most beautiful plants, especially when
Mm.
it starts ripening up. Like right now, mine are taking a long time to ripen up this year, but in the
When
next
it's covered with that sea of
3
yeah,
weeks, man, it's just going to be beautiful, bright red. It's going to be
yeah,
amazing. But from a culinary perspective, it's so versatile. I love growing
yeah,
super hots, but I don't use it a lot in my cooking. I'll make a chili con carne and I'll make it really hot.
yeah,
But how many chilies do I really need to make it
yeah,
really hot?
exactly.
I make my hot sauces and all that's fine. But if I'm making meals, I mean, I have peri peri chicken at least 3 times a month,
Yeah,
and you need your peri peri chilies for that. It's amazing.
yeah,
And sauces, yeah, it is so versatile. People should be growing them more.
yeah. I wish we can grow more of that. To be well, we can grow more. I wish we can harvest enough to make a commercial version of the sauce. I would like
That's
to
a
look
pain
at
in the
that one
backside,
day. It's a pain in the backside.
clearing
Yeah,
out the seeds.
yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
If
I
only.
so I use a one of those tomato sauce makers,
Yeah, to push
auger.
push through.
But
Yeah.
it just gets stuck. I've broken about 3 of them now because the seeds just get compacted right to the end. So you can
Yeah.
get the juices out and get the nice mash out, but the seeds, there's just so
I just
many and it just blocks it up. It's
yeah. So we don't.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
If
difficult one to
only.
process.
But it's
Uh,
it's a definitely underrated
Habanero or Scotch bonnet? I think I know your answer there.
Scotch bonnet. Well, I will caveat that because in Trinidad we're not really even talking about Scotch bonnet. We just say Congo pepper. So somebody will probably bring a Scotch bonnet to your house, and it'll be a Scotch bonnet, but you'd still only recognize it as a Congo pepper, and that's it.
Okay.
Um,
I got put off Scotch bonnet, and it's such a sad thing because you know how I mean my brain is just a weird one, but I I when I first arrived in the UK,
mhm,
I was buying because I love my hot sauce even back then before I was growing and everything and doing this business. I'd buy hot sauce and I'd need something a bit hotter than normal because back then you
mhm.
didn't really have like
You
20 years
find
ago,
what?
25 years ago, there
Yeah,
wasn't a lot of options. But Encona was there.
and Kona. Yeah, yeah,
It was a West Indian style sauce,
yeah.
and I just did not like it. I think I grew not to like it. I used to use it for heat, but I
Yeah.
never found it a very pleasant sauce. It's not a rounded sauce.
No, I mean, I have Ancona in my cupboard just because you have everything in your cupboard if you're a chili fan.
But that's a
Um,
massive. So I just associated all West Indian sauces
yeah.
or Scotch bonnet type sauces was gonna taste like that, and I know that's terrible because there's so many different ways to make sauces. So I
Yeah.
am trying to make some sauces that I really love. I'm trying to make a Scotch bonnet sauce that I'm going to absolutely love. So if you've got a recipe you want to share with me, like
Mm.
a home one, maybe your mom has
Yeah, yeah.
one.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd love to try one out that I actually changed my mind because I love the look
Yeah.
of Scotch bonnets.
Yeah.
So
We will use Scotch bonnets and we make a lime pepper sauce, which is more like a Indian style lime pickle. But you
like
have
a
to
mango lime or
not
just
even
lime.
like that. No, just lime. So, but the challenge is we use ripened limes in Trinidad, not the green stuff that we get in the supermarket. If you can
Okay,
get the green ones that have gone yellow, properly ripened, you could make it with the green, but it's a little bit bitter because it hasn't the pith on the outside hasn't really sweetened up. Let's say.
okay.
We make a lime pepper sauce with that, and it's chunky chunks of lime with carrots, a bit of mulai radish, various other things,
I
and it's
love
more like a
lime
relish.
pickle. I love it. Yeah.
If you taste this one, I'll try and make up some and send it to you at some point.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah. I changed my mind on the Scotch bonnet. But yeah, I've just, it's just the way my mind works. I've just been so against it for so long because of that. But yeah, that's why my choice would be habanero. But
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm sure I can have my mind changed. Um, so this is an interesting one because I'm a big fan of fermented hot sauce. But from your perspective, and I guess your personal perspective, and also from your business perspective, fermented or fresh?
If I could make fermented commercial, I'd definitely make some for the chili farm. I trialed a basic jalapeno sriracha type sauce, fermented jalapeno sriracha. I trialed that at home in my kitchen, and it came out fantastic. Everybody who tried it loved it. It was un. It wasn't like special, if you know what I mean. Like the ingredients put together, very basic. Jalapenos, garlic, a bit of honey, that sort of thing. Fermented. Nothing special, but the flavor was unlike anything else you can get. And then I started thinking, how can I scale this up? And I just
It's not
I put
easy.
it to one side because not only can't it'll take a lot of man hours to try and figure out how to do it, but trying to do that in a kitchen where we're doing other things.
Your problem is you have an established business. I've
Yeah,
seen some of your older videos from before you bought the place, and
yeah,
you have an established business. You have some really amazing equipment that I am very envious of, but it's very much set up for cooked sauces.
exactly.
So for you
I
to
don't
shift now, because
to
you
a
have lots of
fermented,
different sauces you sell, now
lots
for
of
you to
sauces,
shift
and to
to doing
fit
fermented,
fit a fermented one in there and get it to work with all the other processes and stuff. It's
you'd need quite a big spot to
exactly. We don't have
do
sprawling
that.
space to trial that, so we would like to do it. I'd like to put it on our NPD calendar. Um, but yeah, how to practically do that and not
Well, again, we can
you know
talk about that. There might be a way, but yeah, I think it's going to be such a challenge. That big Italian cooking machine that
yeah
you have
yeah
is amazing, right? And if more people had that, then they'd probably be tempted to go down the cooked route fully rather
yeah.
than
I
fermented.
have some idea. I mean, this year we have way more jalapenos than we know what to do with. We
Okay,
are harvesting shed loads. I'm talking about like maybe we can probably harvest close to like 900 kilos of jalapenos, perhaps.
seriously,
Yeah, we
wow.
have lots. We have way more than we know what to do with. So I might allocate a percentage of ripened ones and get myself a barrel of
We'll have
some
a
kind.
chat. We'll have a chat after this, and I'll give you some ideas of how you could do that fermentation.
I think yeah. So this year might be the only year I'll have that much jalapenos,
Why?
that many. We thought we'd needed more when we did our forecasting for sales and stuff for this year, but we just don't need it. Um, and we can't smoke all of it. We have a very small smoker and stuff like that, so we just have lots. So we started selling some like bulk kilo options and stuff fresh online.
What are your
Um,
prices? We're doing some business here. What are your prices for
I
PJ?
can't remember. I genuinely don't know off the top of my head. I never remember, but I know that if I wanted to allocate sort of 50 kilos of jalapeno ripened to do some fermenting, obviously I can't freeze it and then try and ferment. I have to just ferment it as fresh as coming off the plant and all of that.
Well, I'll help you out.
Um,
I've got some ideas if you want. I mean, if you're only talking 50, I mean, I could easily help you do like 120 liters, 240 liters. I have a few ideas that'll make it
yes,
very easy for you to do.
I definitely pick your brains on. I mean, when I mean, we're going off on a tangent here. Yeah,
That's the problem. Every time we talk, we go off on a tangent.
yeah.
Okay, he has a question. I've got two more quick fire. This one is interesting because, again, I think people had a big challenge with this in the beginning of the season. I know you did. Aphids or spider mites? Which is worse?
We've never had spider mites on the farm.
No?
In 24 years of chili farming, the farm has never had spider mites. We know there's spider mites in the area. We think it's because we have a very large orchard, and any other spider mites in the area just naturally go to the apple trees. We've seen them on the apple trees, but they've never come into the tunnels. So we're very strict on keeping that as sterile as possible. Aphids, on the other hand, loads all the time, constantly battling. We thought we had it under control this year with the predators that we buy in, and I mentioned to you on a separate call about breeding them and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was a complete failure for me.
It was a failure for us late in the season, but not early in the season, and I suspect it had a lot to do with the temperature fluctuations.
Absolutely, yeah.
But then all the aphids were under control. We got to a stage where there was almost no visible aphids on any plants in the nursery across something like 3,000 plants, 1 liter plants, and they've emerged again. So we've bought in a small amount of predators just to try and keep on top of it. But we're not in a stage where we're meticulously dealing with the aphids now. It's in the end game. The plants are fully established. There's lots of fruits on them. Might try and keep in control a little bit, but we're not too worried because it's just too late in the season now.
Oh, you're still having aphids?
We still have aphids emerging.
What?
Yeah, they're still cropping up. I was literally just picking aphids off a fried chicken plant.
Wow. Yeah,
and
no,
I decided
I got none.
They came back somehow after having none. Is a resurgence.
So, giving you tips here, you've given me tips. The one thing I find is as soon as you can get the temperature to be consistently for at least 3 or 4 days above 40 degrees Celsius, then you can get rid of them. They'll just die.
Yeah.
So close up your vents, that's all I do is I close up all my vents, I disconnect all my auto vents, I close up all the doors and
sort of bake them in there, and then
the plants take a bit of a battering, but they can handle it. Yeah. And then as long as it's sitting around 40, 45 degrees Celsius, those aphids, they're gone. But it's the early part of the season when you're getting up to like maybe 30 degrees on a sunny day.
Yeah.
It ain't helping. And
I
was inundated.
With the breeding of the predators for our second attempt, it wasn't like a fully controlled experiment on that second time because we thought we'd knocked it on its head, being naive and all of that. But then that coincided with the really hot weather, and I think when I started researching the Aphidius colmani wasp, they can't tolerate temperatures above a certain amount, and that we were hitting that consistently in the tunnels even overnight, so they just left.
Well, we had eventually when the ladybugs and the what do you call them, the hoverflies, when they finally came, it was like swarms of them, and they were having a feast. In the polytunnel, it was just constantly on the roof. You know, you're going to polytunnel. If you don't have a polytunnel, you won't know the
bumping off the roof. Yeah.
It's like it's loud noise, like it's raining, but it's upwards. But all the insects hammering the roof. I had so many hoverflies. It was lovely. I was so excited to see them.
We had no aphids no hoverflies, hardly any, and almost no ladybirds.
Ladybirds, man, we had every time we go outside, like mow the lawn, they're walking on the grass. I've never seen this before. They are all over the grass. They're on every tree, every branch we have now. They're everywhere.
I don't know why, and we don't use pesticides, so it's not like they're dying because we're spraying them or anything. So this year I haven't seen any. I mean, I'm not spending as much time in the tunnels as some of the other guys, but when I'm down there, I'm not seeing any.
What I would recommend, because one of the mistakes I made this year that normally I don't, but I was a bit distracted, is definitely grow when you start your January chilies. Start at the same time some French marigolds. They massively attract
Yeah,
ladybugs and hoverflies.
gonna have to try that.
But
Get some
they're
more.
also beautiful. They smell nice as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
having them
and
dotted around your
at
show
a time
times
when
and that.
time of the year when it's drab and nothing, no bits of color around,
Yeah, and the nice thing is once you go, you just need to buy those seeds once
and
because
that's it. Yeah, you just
you
collect the
got
seeds
so
and
many the seeds. Like every plant, every flower
yeah,
has
yeah,
probably about 400 seeds. So
yeah, yeah. You don't have never have to buy it again.
definitely a way to go. But
Yeah.
listen, it's way past what I said it would be. So thank you so much
No,
for the time today,
that's
and it's
all right.
been
Hap-
amazing chatting with
yeah,
you.
happy to chat chilies or anytime.
Yeah, well, I was saying to Caroline, it'd be great to have you. It's Caroline's Mrs. ChilliChump. I was
Sure.
saying to her before we had this call, it'd be nice to have you back on a semi-regular basis because we can chat about lots of things, especially on the business side. You know, a lot of my viewers are interested in hot sauce making and
Yeah.
that sort of thing, or they're growing and that sort of stuff. And I'm sure they're always going to be interested to hear from, you know, I mean, you guys, you're far bigger than I am.
No,
Your
but
whole
I
setup.
mean, I when I look at your YouTube and how many videos you create and the engagement you get from it, that's what we're trying to aspire to. You know, try and you would have seen on our YouTube channel we're starting to post, trying to make them a bit more sophisticated, trying to do more consistently. And now my wife's here, we're going to do more and more of that. But
Well, one thing
you
I'd
know,
recommend, and I'm pretty sure anybody that's listening to this podcast would definitely agree, do a bit of filming next time you guys are bottling up a sauce or mixing up a
yeah.
sauce. I think people would love to see your setup. I was fascinated. I was watching, but the video that's there is from
Oh, it's ancient.
like 15 years ago.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
I mean,
absolutely ancient.
it's in 240p. It's
Yeah, yeah.
insane.
It was filmed on probably like one of those turning ones.
Yeah, but just go in there with your go with your phone and just film around there. Just see
Yeah,
what people are doing. Show the machinery because it's fascinating to see. You know, and people don't really get much of an insight into what goes on behind the scenes.
yeah, exactly. I
Um,
think in the previous owners of the chili farm, they were a little bit guarded on these things. Uh,
why? I mean, it
and
doesn't change anything. Listen,
no,
I'm
if
guarded
somebody wants
about
to
a
go,
couple things, but
yeah, I mean
come on,
your recipes, you'll keep that secret,
yeah,
whatever. But anybody can go and buy the same equipment. Doesn't matter. So,
yeah.
you're gonna see more of that coming out now, especially in the chocolate room when we're tempering the chocolate and spreading it out.
Yeah,
I
you'll get
mean,
a whole different fan base from that. I know
but
my
yeah,
wife will be watching that one.
there's lots we can do, and every day that we go by, we keep thinking, oh, we can film that, we can film that. Everybody wants to know what that, and you just
But just
now
do it. Just do it. It
we're
doesn't
getting
have
in
to
that
be. It
mindset.
doesn't have to be Spielberg quality or anything. Just your phone, get it out, and film a
Yeah,
bit. I'm sure people love to see it. So
exactly. That's what we're trying to do now. And then speaking to people like yourself, we get a platform with you, can get a bit more visibility, all of that sort of thing.
yeah, excellent. No, listen, I'd love to have you back again. We can get you on another podcast, but I
No,
definitely want to get to have a whole chili with you one day. A nice hot one. Come on, we can do it.
gosh, I don't back. I never back down from a challenge.
Unlike
So
unlike a certain somebody that backed down, and he's massive in the chili community, and
yeah,
he backed down when he lost a bit of a challenge with me. My
uh,
viewers will know who I'm talking about, and I'll tell you about it
fair
afterwards.
enough.
But
Yeah, sure.
yeah, that irritated
Cool.
me. But anyway,
All right
thank you
then.
so
Well,
much
yeah,
for all your time today, and also learning more about the Trinidad Scorpion. I'm going to do a bit more research because I think, again, the reality of it is, you've spoken with the guy directly, and the likelihood is he is the guy who came up with it. But
yeah,
you always got to be keeping your mind open, and like you've got to take everything
exactly.
with a pinch of salt.
Yeah,
It'd be fascinating to see the results of the testing if you can get hold of that from the university and that sort of thing.
yeah,
Anything to back it up because it'd be awesome. Because that story,
and
it'd be
yeah,
amazing, right?
and I'm definitely not leaving that to just go on the sidelines because it's opened up a whole new world of what this means. Because I want to
It's a
do.
sense of pride for you as well, right? That's really
Yeah,
important,
exactly.
right?
That's really what it's about. And knowing these people and knowing some of them personally, I thought I need to do something about it. I have a platform to some extent outside of Trinidad, so I just wanted to do a bit more digging there. So it's not the end of the Moruga Scorpion story. I can tell you that.
And yeah, and it'd be good to hear because it is such an influential chili on the grand scheme of things. I mean, the butcherlokia or the ghost pepper, I still think is one of the big ones, and that's probably another one. I should probably do a bit of research on the background there because I always assumed it was a landrace
Yeah,
variety that was just grown up in the mountains, but apparently it's a hybrid. I need to
See?
still do some more research on that because I don't know if I believe that, because I've always believed that it's a landrace variety.
Yeah,
It's always interesting, all the history of this stuff to get us to where we are
exactly.
today.
Yeah, indeed.
Excellent. Well, go enjoy your dinner. I
I
still
will
need to
do.
figure out what I'm going to be making, but I'm sure it's going to be spicy. Anyway, we'll speak again soon. And thank you, everybody, for joining on this podcast today. I will be back again with another interesting one, hopefully, in a few weeks' time. But until then, stay spicy. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you have a question you'd like me to answer in a future episode, you can leave me a voice note on WhatsApp at 07354 201 043, or get in touch through my website at chillichump.com/contact. Thanks again for joining me, and we'll chat again soon. Until then, stay spicy.